England season review for 2025, folks. It was obviously a pretty good year for Steve Borthwick's boys, barring that opening Six Nations loss to Ireland. They've gone on a kind of all-conquering one. Six Nations season... England 2025 season review, folks. It's been a pretty good year for Steve Borthwick's boys, barring that initial loss in the Six Nations to Ireland. They've gone on and beaten all comers, including with a depleted side that they took over to Argentina without their British and Irish Lions. We'll have a look through the season that was. What was the kind of highlight and lowlight moments of their season? The squad itself, some of the key stats. Do they have a major weakness? And what grade would we be giving England based on what they have done this year? If we just look at the world ranking, it's a massive boost. They've had a better increase than anybody else, going from 7th in the world, which would have made them, at the World Cup draw, one of the second pot sides. But nope, they finished the season in 3rd. So a massive jump, going from 82.31 in the world rankings to 89.41. So they are chasing down the All Blacks in front of them. And as I said, had a pretty good run. They opened up with that loss to Ireland, which is the one kind of blot on their copybook this year, but everything else has gone pretty well. 4-1 record in the Six Nations is the same as champions France, although France finished with a pretty decently better points difference and a bonus point that England didn't get. So 1 point behind the French, plus the points difference was 125 to France and 74 to England. So it still felt like England, from that point of the season, were getting better. Like even during the Six Nations, the loss to Ireland was pretty narrow, 27-22, but beat France by a point late in the game, and then they beat the Scots by a point to get the Calcutta Cup back, which had eluded them for, I think, like the previous 4 seasons. Pretty comfortably beat the Italians, and then smashed Wales away from home. So that probably helps that the fixtures list, in theory, kind of got progressively easier. But also England were getting progressively better throughout the year. Then July, taking on Argentina. Argentina were missing some players, but so were England with all their Lions guys away. So I think to beat Argentina twice the way they did was really encouraging, although England do seem to have Argentina's number. There are some teams who just always seem to beat one team in particular, and for England and Argentina, that's the relationship they've got, plus a pretty comfortable win over the US. Good chance for a few guys to get their debuts, and George Ford to really show what a master that guy can be. And he was the guy, if you looked at the England depth chart video, who regained his spot as the Premier English 10, at least in terms of the amount of minutes that he played. Then November, it was a sweep of the southern sides, beating Australia pretty comfortably 25-7, Fiji 38-18. That one maybe wasn't as convincing because that game was still fairly close after like an hour. Beating New Zealand 33-19 was pretty good from an English perspective. Not so good from my ABs, but it was pretty comfortable. Then Argentina 27-23, which is again maybe a little bit harder work than it should have been because England seemed to have that game in the bag. But Argentina still made them work for it by attempting a comeback. So apart from the Calcutta Cup, there's no silverware this year. There was no talk of like a Southern Slam or anything. Maybe if it had been South Africa coming to town instead of Fiji, it would have been some kind of Southern Slam at home. But yeah, no trophies barring the Calcutta Cup. But the squad itself is looking pretty promising. You got some good midfielders with the likes of Dingwall and Ajomo and Lawrence and Seb Atkinson, Tommy Freeman if he's playing in the midfield. You got lots of options there. You got some young props who are really coming along nicely. So I feel like plenty to like. I think this one's a really hard tackling loose forwards. Yeah, the big question mark is going to be when you come up against South Africa, whether the bulk is going to be enough. But as I said, there's some really, really promising elements to this England side. Stats-wise, the thing that always sticks out about Borthwick's side is the amount that they kick. It's a really high kicking side. They kick more than anybody else, but I feel like that gets focused on too much because there are so many other elements of England's stats which are looking very, very nice. Like they're the only side this year, was it them and Fiji, who average over 4 meters a carry. Like they get more meterage per carry than the Box. Certainly more than the All Blacks, who are way low. More than the Scots and whatnot. So very, very encouraging numbers in how much go forward they get. They break a decent number of tackles. They don't concede many points at all. there's plenty of other aspects apart from just the kicking game, which are very encouraging. If you were looking for a weakness, there's one area which is, it's not even that bad, but the penalties conceded it's on the higher side. It's not by any means the worst, but it did creep up a little bit. I think during the Argentina tour, the penalties conceded was pretty low. But yeah, there's been a few games when the penalty count's been getting a little bit high. And if you are playing a team like the Springboks, if you're conceding 12 or 14 penalties or something, and maybe more if they got scrum dominant on you, it could get a little bit costly. But yeah, it's a hard one. How do you grade the team? Because I said no Six Nations. That would have been proper icing on the cake. Do you give them maybe you give them an A minus for a grade? Still pretty bloody good. To go on the winning run that they're on is phenomenal. There's still a few areas to work on, like the fact that, a couple of those wins in the Six Nations were one-pointers. The Argentinians almost had a comeback. The Fijians maybe pushed England for a bit longer than they would have liked, but overall, winning all the November tour games, winning depleted away from home in Argentina, finishing on the same win-loss ratio as the Six Nations champions, and beating the eventual champions France, there's a heck of a lot of encouraging factors for England. You guys let us know your thoughts. If they come up against South Africa tomorrow, how are they doing? Maybe it depends if it's home or away. We will find out how they travel down to South Africa next year for this new Nations League competition. But anyway, you guys let us know your thoughts. This is pre-recorded. I'm on holiday at the moment, but look forward to seeing you guys once I get back to New Zealand. You guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.